The security golem took my badge before anyone had the courage to look me in the eye. That was how my 14 years at Brindlecap and Voss Royal Apothecary works ended. Not with a farewell, not with a review, not even with one of those stale honey cakes human resources bought whenever they wanted people to pretend bad news was community building. Just a granite golem, one brass badge, and Lord Cassian Voss smiling like he had personally invented efficiency. My name is Elira Mosswick. I was 41 years old, Senior Safety Certification Officer, and for 14 years I had been the woman who made sure our healing potions didn't blind soldiers, poison children, or turn noble patients temporarily transparent. Cassian had been operations director for 11 days. 11. He stood in the third-floor compliance hall, surrounded by humming crystal lamps and clerks pretending not to listen, and announced that I was the cause of our production delays. The bottleneck, he called me. Not a bottleneck. The bottleneck. Behind him, Master Pelwin stared at the floor. Pelwin was a decent alchemist, but he once signed a lunch receipt as authorized potion release, so I was not comforted by his presence. Cassian tapped a glowing chart with a silver pointer. Effective immediately, Elira Mosswick is relieved of her duties. Her certification authority will be reassigned, so production can move without unnecessary obstruction. Unnecessary obstruction. That was what he called safety law. I asked him one question. Did you notify the Royal Healer Registry before removing my seal? He laughed softly. That was the exact moment I knew he had not read the contract. Elira, he said like my name tasted cheap, you stamp forms. Other people make the magic. The room went still. Even the enchanted copier stopped coughing smoke. I unclipped my badge and placed it in the golem's hand. Then I set my worn brown certification ledger on Cassian's table. You'll need this, I said. He glanced at it. Keep your personal notebook. It isn't personal. He waved me off. So I picked up my coat, my lunch tin, and the last shred of loyalty I had left for that company. Then I walked out. Cassian thought he had removed a slow employee. What he had actually removed was the only registered safety seal standing between Brindlecap and Voss, and a royal shipping freeze worth 2.3 million crown gold. I did not become important because I was powerful. That is the first thing people get wrong. I was not a battle mage. I did not command dragons. I did not glow when angry, although after 2 decades in compliance, I feel that should be an earned ability. I became important because I stayed. I stayed through the Red Fever recall, when a junior alchemist mislabeled Dream Tonic as fever syrup, and half of Northbridge confessed family secrets to their furniture. I stayed through winter audits, supplier scandals, broken sterilization runes, and one unforgettable morning when Vat 9 developed opinions. I stayed after my husband left with half our savings and a river singer from the southern ports. He took the blue teapot too. I still miss the teapot more. I had 2 children, an elderly mother, and a family curse in the cellar that required annual maintenance. If we missed payment, the stairs whispered insults at visitors. So I worked. I worked late. I worked sick. I worked through school recitals, broken roof tiles, and nights when my son's asthma charm flickered and I counted silver marks at the kitchen table. At Brindlecap and Voss, we made healing potions on a royal scale. Trauma stabilizers, fever suspensions, battlefield clotting drafts, burn salves, plague reserve tonics. Very noble work. Also very sticky. The factory covered 6 city blocks in Marrowgate. Copper pipes ran along the ceilings. Steam spirits lived in the vents. The break room coffee urn hated everyone equally. My job was not glamorous. I checked ingredient trails. I reviewed batch tests. I confirmed storage wards. I rejected shortcuts. People said I slowed things down. They were right. Breaks also slow things down. That does not mean you remove them before driving downhill. Years earlier, after a bad recall, The Royal Healer Registry required Brindlecap and Voss to appoint one named officer personally responsible for safety certification on Royal Healer products. The board chose me because I was already doing the work and not important enough to refuse. So I took the oath. My seal was bound to my name, my breath, and one drop of blood. A mana seal is basically a signature, a password, and a lie detector wearing expensive robes. Every Royal Healer shipment needed that seal. If I resigned properly, the company had 30 days to transfer authority. If I retired, 45 days. If I died, legal had a 72-hour emergency process, which they explained while I was standing there, alive and increasingly annoyed. But if I was removed without documented cause, immediate freeze. No grace period. No shipment. No appeal until registry review. I reminded management every year. I put it in audit reports. I marked it in red on risk summaries. I once explained it using a pie chart because finance only respected danger when it looked edible. Nobody cared. Then Cashin arrived. Lord Cashin Voss, nephew of the chairman, graduate of some noble management academy where they apparently taught confidence instead of reading. He wanted production up 25% before the spring court budget hearings. He wanted the Frostmire emergency healer order delivered in 10 days instead of 18. And he wanted me out of the way. The delays were real. But they were not caused by compliance. Procurement had bought cheaper nightshade from a vendor whose certificate vanished in sunlight. VAT 12's heat regulator had been repaired with wire, luck charms, and a spoon. Cashin himself had cut second-shift sterilization staff by 30% to unlock efficiency. I warned him. Repeatedly. Politely. With documents. He called them legacy concerns. That is manager language for, I will ignore this until it becomes expensive. The week before he fired me, Cashin called me into conference room Moonlark. Moonlark was the nice room. It had posture-enforcing chairs and a crystal mirror that made everyone look guilty in high definition. On the table was a folder titled Rapid Certification Framework. I hated it immediately. The plan was simple. Instead of certifying each royal batch, production would group similar batches under one umbrella approval. My seal would be applied once per potion line, then shipments could move automatically. For ordinary cough syrup, maybe. For battlefield trauma stabilizer, absolutely not. This violates the Frostmire contract, I said. Cashin leaned back. It modernizes the Frostmire contract. No, it violates it. A consultant from Argent Process Solutions smiled at me. His shoes were too clean for a potion factory. Many legacy officers resist transformation, he said. Many consultants leave before the audit, I replied. The junior legal scribe coughed into her sleeve. Cashin's smile thinned. Master Pelwin can certify the batches, he said. He understands potions. He is not registered with the Royal Healer Registry. He is a master alchemist. So are several famous poisoners. That ended the friendly part of the meeting. Cashin tapped the folder. This company owns the contracts. The company owns the contracts, I said. The registry recognizes the seal. The seal belongs to the company. No, the seal belongs to the oath. He hated that. People like Cashin hate anything they cannot inherit, buy, charm, or threaten. I gave him one final warning. Do not remove me during an active royal production window. Frostmire has 18,000 trauma stabilizers pending. The Queen's Plague Reserve has 6,400 fever units pending. The Western Healer Corps has 312 battlefield kits waiting. If you break continuity, the registry freezes everything. He looked amused. You are not important enough to threaten this company. I'm not threatening you, I said. I'm reading your contract. 2 days later, he fired me in front of the department. No written cause. No registry notice. No successor filing. Just arrogance in polished boots. After I left, I went to a tea shop 2 streets away and ordered blackroot tea with honey. My hands were shaking. Not from fear exactly. From 14 years of swallowing words. I opened my personal crystal mirror and called the Royal Healer Registry. Inspector Vale answered. She had audited us twice. She wore severe glasses and had the expression of a locked door. Elira, she said, unexpected. I've been removed from my position effective immediately, I said. No documented cause, no transfer notice. My access was revoked. She went still. Are Royal Healer shipments pending under your seal? Yes, 27 batches. Total value approximately 2.3 million crown gold. Was a registered successor approved? No. Was the registry notified before removal? No. She closed her eyes for 1 second. That was her version of screaming. Do not access company systems, she said. I won't. Do not advise them informally. I wasn't planning to. Good. The call ended. I sat there while my tea went cold. For the first time in years, I had nowhere to be. By noon, Brindlecap and Voss tried to certify Frostmire batch using Pelwin's seal. The enchanted ledger rejected it. At 12:31, they tried Cashin's director seal. Rejected. At 12:44, it attempted a manual override. The ledger locked. At 1:05, the Royal Healer Registry froze all Royal Healer shipments pending investigation. 27 batches stopped moving. 3 loading bays sealed themselves in blue ward light. 9 courier wagons sat in the rain, while drivers argued about hazard pay. At 3:36, Cashin called me. I was buying onions. I let it ring. The first day was confusion. The second day was panic. The third day was accounting. That is when executives become religious. Frostmire invoked emergency procurement, which meant they could buy from another certified supplier and charge Brindlecap and Voss the difference. That difference was 640,000 crown gold. Moonfin Botanicals froze Silverleaf deliveries because our priority supplier agreement depended on active royal certification status. Without it, their surcharge increased by 18%. The Queen's Plague Reserve sent a priority mirror request. The Western Healer Corps suspended their standing order. That one hurt. They paid 410,000 crown gold per quarter and trusted exactly 3 suppliers in the kingdom. Brindlecap had been one of them. Because of my seal. Not Cashin's cloak. Not the board's speeches. My seal. Master Harrow from legal called me at 4:02 on the first day. I answered because legal, unlike operations, occasionally reads. Elira, he said, looking as if he had aged 10 years since breakfast. We need clarification regarding the continuity clause. Which part? The registry has frozen shipments. Yes. Did you request that? No, I notified them of my removal. The oath required it. Cashin believed there would be a grace period. There is, for resignation, retirement, death, or planned succession. He winced. I was escorted out by a golem, I added. Yes, he said quietly. We understand that now. A cabbage seller shouted nearby that his cabbages were hex-free this time. I stepped away. Master Harrow lowered his voice. Would you return temporarily as a courtesy? A courtesy. After 14 years, 1 public humiliation, and a golem escort, they still found a way to ask for free labor. No. What would you require? A written correction, back pay, confirmation that I was removed without documented cause, any future work as an external consultant at 3,000 crown gold per day, 5-day minimum, paid in escrow. He stared through the mirror. That is more than your monthly salary. Yes. That seems excessive. So does freezing 2.3 million crown gold in shipments, because a man in silver trim did not read Clause 7. He had no answer. I gave him one piece of help, because I am not cruel. Do not attempt another override. If the ledger registers tampering, the registry can escalate from shipment freeze to license suspension. He went pale. They already tried it, I said. Then I ended the call. By day 4, 3 batches were quarantined because nobody could prove which stirring paddles had been used. That matters. Ironwood leaves trace resin. Trace resin makes sleep drafts last 12 hours longer than labeled. Not deadly. Just professionally humiliating. By day 5, the Royal Healer Registry arrived in person. 3 auditors in gray robes. Silver document cases. Polite smiles. The kind of smiles that make directors sweat through expensive shirts. Inspector Vale requested all batch records, seal access logs, internal warnings, and communications related to my removal. Cashin tried charm. He said, "Surely we can resolve this without unnecessary bureaucracy." Inspector Vale replied, "Lord Voss, bureaucracy is what keeps your products from being classified as suspicious liquids." I wish I had seen his face. The board finally got involved when the projected losses reached 3.4 million crown gold for the quarter. Not because they discovered respect, because numbers shouted louder than I ever had. I hired a solicitor named Amra Quill. She was small, sharp, and terrifying in the way only contract lawyers and angry grandmothers can be. Her first instruction was simple. Do not speak to them except through me. They keep calling, I said. Let them develop character. So I did. The begging meeting happened on day 8. They called it a strategic resolution discussion. Of course they did. Corporate language can put silk gloves on a burning building. The meeting took place in Amra's office because I refused to enter Brindlecap property without witnesses. Cashin came with Chairman Voss, Master Harrow, and Lady Myrle Brindlecap, a board member who had not visited the factory in 6 years, but apparently still knew when a nephew was expensive. Cashin looked awful. No silver cloak, wrinkled collar, dark circles under his eyes. I did not enjoy that. Well, not much. Chairman Voss began. Elira, mistakes were made. Amra's quill started moving. I said nothing. He cleared his throat. Your removal may have been handled too abruptly. May have been, Amra repeated. Lady Myrle sighed. It was handled badly. Let us not insult her again while asking for help. I liked her immediately. Chairman Voss offered reinstatement with a 15% raise. I said no. Cashin leaned forward. People are waiting on medicine. There it was. The moral hostage. I looked at him. People were waiting on medicine when you cut sterilization staff. People were waiting on medicine when you ignored the supplier warning. People were waiting on medicine when you removed the registered officer during an active royal production window. His face reddened. You could fix this. I can help fix it under lawful terms. Chairman Voss looked tired. Name them. So I did. Public written correction to staff. Full back pay. 18-month severance. My solicitor's fees. External consulting at 3,000 crown gold per day. 10 days prepaid in escrow. No reporting to Cashin. No verbal instructions. Registry present during emergency recertification. No retaliation against my clerks. And a written apology. Cashin laughed once. Amra's quill stopped. Lady Myrle turned to him. Cashin, she said, you cost this company more in 8 days than Officer Mosswick cost in 14 years. Be silent. I have heard temple bells less beautiful. They accepted. The apology took 3 drafts. The first said I felt undervalued. Rejected. The second blamed communication gaps. Rejected harder. The third said, Elira Mosswick was removed without proper cause, without required succession planning, and without due consideration of her essential certification authority. My statements about her role were inaccurate and inappropriate. Was it sincere? No. Was it documented? Yes. Sometimes, that is the best kind of apology you can get from people who only understand consequences. The next morning, Spirit Bank confirmed 30,000 crown gold in escrow. My hands shook when I saw the number. That was enough to pay my son's asthma charms for years, enough for my daughter's collegium application, enough to maintain my mother's cellar curse without bargaining with the curse technician. I returned to Brindlecap with Amra and 2 registry auditors. Nobody clapped. Thank the gods. Clapping would have made me leave again. The factory smelled the same: mint steam, hot glass, and poor decisions. Mara, my senior clerk, hugged me in the file room. Davin cried and blamed dust, even though the file room had anti-dust wards. I let him keep the lie. We spent 10 days repairing the damage. We restored the ledger lock. We recertified safe batches. We scrapped 4 batches that lacked clean traceability, costing Brindlecap another 76,000 crown gold. Cashin objected until Inspector Vale asked whether he preferred to drink them. He stopped objecting. Frostmeyer accepted a delayed schedule. The Queen's Plague Reserve imposed 6 months of monitoring. The Western Healer Corps did something better. They asked whether I planned to remain at Brindlecap. I said no. That answer surprised even me. But once I said it, I knew it was true. 1 month later, I opened Mosswick's safety and seal in a rented room above a bakery. It had 1 second-hand desk, 2 chairs, a cracked window, and a 3-tailed alley cat that bullied delivery sprites. It was perfect. The Western Healer Corps became my first client. Then 2 healer guilds. Then Moonfen Botanicals hired me to review buyer compliance clauses, which was funny enough that I accepted immediately. Mara joined me after 6 weeks. Davin followed after bonus season. My old salary had been 48,000 silver marks a year. By the end of my first year independent, my office cleared 220,000 crown gold in revenue. I still had trouble believing that number. Cashin did not remain operations director. The board reassigned him to strategic noble relations, which I believe means lunch with people who like ribbon cuttings. Brindlecap survived. Companies like that usually do. They turn disasters into training modules and call it transformation. But they lost the Western Healer Corps permanently. They also had to keep a registry observer on site for a year, at their own expense. Lady Myrle later hired me to review their new succession plan. She paid on time. I respect that in a person. At home, things changed quietly. My son's asthma charms were paid in advance. My daughter got into the Collegium of Practical Enchantments. When the acceptance letter arrived, she tried to act calm for exactly 3 seconds before screaming loud enough to wake the cellar curse. My mother cried, then said the school crest looked pretentious. The stairs whispered nothing that year. Paid in full. I keep my old Brindlecap badge on a shelf behind my desk. Brass and moonstone. Slightly scratched. Completely useless. I keep it there because it reminds me of the day I stopped confusing being needed with being valued. That is a hard lesson. Useful people are often kept tired on purpose, not always cruelly. Sometimes people just get comfortable leaning on the same wall. But if they start calling the wall replaceable, they should not act surprised when the roof introduces itself. People ask if what I did was revenge. I do not think so. I did not curse the vats. I did not sabotage shipments. I did not steal clients in the night or whisper ruin into a mirror. I notified the registry. I followed the oath. I let the contract do exactly what it was written to do. Cashin wanted magic. Unfortunately for him, the strongest spell in that factory was the clause he never bothered to read.